Ready?
Ready?
Hey everyone, welcome back to the latest episode of Snitchin'. It's your host, Kristen.
And Brittany, get ready for the best part of your day.
And if you could see us right now, we're cheesing because we have with us our friend Owen here. Owen is married to our bestie Heather, who has a friend of the pod, come on a couple of times. Owen, I feel like, are you liking hearing our intro live here?
Yeah, I honestly thought it was pre-recorded each intro. So like
Oh, wow.
I was dying. I was trying not to laugh that intro because I was expecting because it's so consistent, which is great. But I was expecting
Wow.
it to be pre-recorded and then you went into your topic you were discussing. So that was
Mhm.
great to hear. That was like it was like watching your favorite player play baseball or something.
I get my
Yeah,
just
you guys are
another.
professionals. I couldn't do
What
that.
can we say?
I mean, what can we say? Owen. Oh my God, starting off so well. But yeah, so Owen, when did you guys get together? I feel like I'm gonna think it's shorter than it was.
Yep. So I have to get this right, otherwise because Heather's gonna listen. She'll be like, you got that wrong. Um,
Yep.
so June 13th was our first June 13th, 2015 was our first date.
Oh,
And we got married October
2019.
October 12th, 2019. It's been great. We just had our 6-year anniversary. So yeah.
My
We
favorite wedding weekend.
Top wedding weekend ever. I remember that we had rented like the bridal party and friends had a couple of houses next to each other. Everyone was just in the best mood. I remember running downstairs and finding Brittany and being like, Brittany, you have to get upstairs right now. It is 2012 upstairs. We need to get up there now.
Yeah, I just remember me and Gina being like at like 9:30, like we gotta go, like we have to get up early to get ready and stuff tomorrow. And we're like, come on, Kristen, come on. We're like corralling her out. And then she gets to the front step and we're like walking out the door and she's like, I think I'm gonna stay. And she turns around and stays. Ended up
yeah,
being late to getting ready, but
I remember, yeah, walking through like I had to go to bed early, obviously, and I remember walking through and it was just straight up house party from college. I was like, this is ridiculous. It was fun, and it was everyone I knew, of course, and yeah, I just thought it was a really fun night before. I was jealous too. I wanted to be like Kristen and stay. Kristen paid for it,
yeah.
but
Oh my
there's other
God.
stories. I don't know if we could tell them, but there's other stories about Kristen that happened.
I was just having too much fun. I literally, like Brittany said, I got to the door and I just was like, no, I'm not leaving here. This is just not having too good of a time. So yeah, but definitely paid for it. But lovely wedding weekend. And yeah, we happy anniversary, happy belated
Thank you.
anniversary.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But the real reason that we have Owen here today is because Owen is a realtor here. He has worked with both Brittany and I to sell us our homes and was just like the best intro to, for me at least, Brittany, I'm sure you agree,
Hmm.
into home buying, to have someone who is a trusted friend helping us every step of the process. So we have Owen here
Everyone's
to
favorite realtor.
everyone's favorite realtor. Oh my God, Owen, that should be like your tagline.
Yeah.
No, that's too corny. That's too corny.
Snitch's favorite realtor.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right, I'll take that.
Snitch's
I'll put
favorite
that
realtor.
right on my business card.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, we should say that Owen is one of the main creators of our name. I don't know if it was
Oh,
you or
Oh,
Bill.
true. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think it was a combination of a few of us, but yeah, Bill, you got to get Bill on. We were the ones who kind of gave you guys the name of
Yeah.
snitches, and then you guys ran with it.
we sure did. And now it's full
Yep.
circle because we're here with the snitches favorite realtor.
I hope you're listening, Bill. You can come
Bill better
on.
listen to this one.
I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like this is making it into the chat. I hope. But yeah, no, you guys did name us snitches. I never actually really knew the origin, but good to know. That doesn't surprise me that it was the
Yeah.
two of you. But we are here to just pick Owen's brain a little bit about real estate in this market. For people who might be interested in buying their first home, tips for first time home buyers. So we're going to get into all of it. And we're so excited to have you here. Britt, do you want to kick things off?
Sure.
Let's do
Cool.
it.
So yeah, hopefully we can give you guys some good education, or and by we I mean Owen. Maybe just tell us a little bit about like how long you've been a realtor, where you work, stuff like that.
Sure. I actually, everyone's shocked to hear this, but I got my real estate license in June of 2011. So I got my license when I was
Damn.
20 years old. I was still in college. But I was just kind of doing it on the side. And then I graduated and, I kind of went full time into real estate after that. the reason why I got into because my mother's a real estate agent, and it was just sort of an easy transition. I tell this to everyone that thinks about getting into real estate. It's hard to get your foot in the door. You take the real estate exam, and then you pass, and then you're thrown to the wolves essentially. There's no training. The real estate exam has no training involved. It's just legal stuff that you have to know.
Mm,
Basically, stuff to know that so you don't get sued.
mm,
Then you pass your license, and then you have to sign up with a brokerage. You can't just work on your own. But then there's no guideline like how to get business, how to sell a house. There's nothing. You don't know anything. So my mother was my teacher, and luckily she was patient because a lot of the time when I was 23, 24 years old, I didn't want to work weekends, which is a lot of our
mm.
job. It requires a lot of working on the weekends. But yeah, it was great because she was the one who got me into real estate, and luckily I've enjoyed it enough to stay with it, and so I've been licensed since, if you do the math, 14 years or so. Yeah, I work mostly in Belmont, which is outside of Boston,
Mm,
Cambridge area, and it's been fun. It's been rewarding. It's a lot of work, but there's freedom to being your own boss. So
yeah.
I feel like that's something people kind of forget about with real estate. There's so much you have to do as a real estate agent, like just
Hmm.
creating your book of business. I feel like that's something I've always thought you do a good job of doing, Owen, between mailers and like getting referrals and like the follow up and the promptness and just being able, like, there's so much that goes
Yeah.
into it throughout to get clients, retain clients. You know what I
yeah,
You
mean?
got to
When they
be
think
like
about,
available all the time.
yeah.
right.
Yeah, and like a lot of people, like a lot of our friends, like they'll joke with me. They're like, "Oh, you just have to like open the door and like
Yeah.
just like I lean into them. Like, yeah, like it seems that simple. Like honestly, listing the house is the easiest part. It's everything beforehand and everything after is hard. And like Kristen said, a lot of it's follow up. A lot of Kristen was in sales, but the thing is, like, I don't consider myself a salesman, which I should. Let me step back. The best real estate agents I've met have been teachers in their past life because there's so
Mm,
much, like, especially whether it's seller or buyer, you're constantly teaching people the process, and you're using your
mm.
experience and passing that experience on to the buyer or seller, whoever you're working with. I feel like it translates perfectly. There's plenty of people that were accountants and this and that, and they look at it from like a numbers figure. But the teachers are the best, in my opinion, are some of the best real estate agents. So that's my philosophy.
Hmm. My grandmother was a teacher and a realtor.
Oh,
Oh,
good to
Yeah.
know.
I can see why it's like it takes a lot of the interpersonal skills. You're kind of meeting people at one of their major life events. So,
Yeah.
like being trusted, being able to be comforting, offer guidance. I can see why that would be so important.
The stakes are definitely higher when it's like you're dealing with someone's personal life, you know?
Totally.
For sure, and it's the biggest purchase of their life, most likely.
Right.
So
So more than opening the door.
that's right. Yes, that's right.
Well, speaking of education, maybe we can talk a little bit about like for people that haven't bought a home, like first time home buyers, what's the first step? What do you got to do?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Everyone thinks it's like, oh, I need to find out where I want to live or what type of house I want. The first step is to get pre-approved or to figure out how you're going to purchase the house. You need to get a pre-approval letter from whether you go to a bank, whether you go to a mortgage lender. The most important thing is to get pre-approved. That way, if you see a house, you can put an offer in and you would be taken seriously. But not only that, you want to know how much you can spend. So a lender will be able to
Mhm.
calculate that. They have their own methods of calculating what you'd be able to purchase a house for. But you don't want to go start looking at $700,000 houses when you can only afford $600,000 houses, and then don't
Yeah.
know until you're ready to put in an offer and you just wasted a whole lot of time. So yeah, pre-approval is the first thing.
And you can get pre-approved pretty quickly, right? If you see a
Yeah,
house you like and you're not
especially if you're
pre-approved.
like a W-2 worker, and you have like a steady income, it's very easy to you can get pre-approved in a day. If you're self-employed, it's a little harder, but within a few, 2, 3, 4 days, depending on how fast you get the paperwork to the lender, you can get pre-approved pretty quickly. But again, you don't want to like wait till the last minute and then not know what you can afford.
And isn't it true that pre-approvals only last for like they're only valid for a certain amount of time and they
Yes.
ding your credit score? So you don't want to do it like a
Oh
year in
yeah.
advance, right?
Yeah. So there's also other things like you can get pre-qualified, which they don't do a credit check on.
Oh,
So that way you can still like figure out what you're gonna, what you can spend. But it's not as strong like when you go to submit an offer, you would submit your pre-approval letter. If you submit a pre-qualification letter, it's not as strong. It's basically saying, we haven't verified their income recently. We haven't run their credit recently. Where a pre-approval letter has their verified income, it has the recent credit score, and it expires every 60 days. So you have a 60 to 90 days. So you have a 60 to 90 day window that the pre-approval is good for. They can always rerun it. Some companies don't have to do a hard check every time. They can do a soft check. So that way it won't ding your credit too bad. And credit score does affect how much you can afford. So you want to, keep a high credit score, make sure you're paying all your bills. I have a story about Heather. I won't embarrass her, but when we purchased, there was an issue with Heather's credit score, but it was corrected quickly. So and it didn't affect the sale.
would you say
That's
that's like the
hilarious.
biggest factor? Like,
No, no, not the credit score is definitely not the biggest factor. It's more of like your income and your debt to income
Mm,
ratio.
okay,
That's probably your biggest factor, but credit score does play a big role as well. So you want to make sure your credit is good before you get pre-approved. If you have to improve your credit, that would be something you want to work on like 6 months ahead of time.
yeah.
I have a quick follow-up to that.
Yeah.
Um, I know you're saying first step is the pre-approval. That makes total sense to me. Do you know, can you just do that online anywhere? Do you normally want to have a realtor that like has somewhere that they recommend you get the pre-approval?
Yeah, you can go like anywhere, but if you're planning on working with a real estate agent, it might be smarter to go with them first, and then they can direct you towards like a handful of lenders. I always try to give people three of everything, so like three lenders, three attorneys, like so that way it's someone that they've worked with before. You're not just using Joe Schmo because just like real estate agents, anyone can kind of be a lender or mortgage broker. So you want to make sure, it's someone you trust. So if you trust a real estate agent, you should trust them to point you in the right direction to someone that's going to make sure if there's any snags in the deal, they'll handle it. The bar for entry for real estate and like mortgage lending is pretty low. And I think
Mm,
experience plays a big role in how good these people are. So you want to use someone that has some experience. They don't have to be a 20-year vet, but at least have a few years under their belt to know what they're doing.
Makes
yeah.
sense.
That's actually a good point, though. I feel like I didn't know that when I bought my first place. Like, so you have the realtor you work with, but then you also have the lender, and then you also have the attorneys, right? So, like, maybe just talk about like what each person does.
Yes. So your real estate agent's kind of like he's like the all or she is all in one. They're gonna show houses to you. They're gonna answer your questions. If you're a buyer, they're gonna be writing the offers for you. And they're gonna be pretty much pushing the deal along once you do get an offer accepted. Home inspections, other contingencies that may come up. But so your real estate agent's kind of like the all around. The lender's strictly on the finance side. They only handle your financing. So if you're borrowing
Mm,
money to buy the house, they're only working on that in any aspects with that. And then your attorney is also very important. They so if you're buying, they're going to be reviewing we're in Massachusetts, every state's different, but in Massachusetts, they review the purchase and sale. And a purchase and sale is basically a longer form document of your offer form. So when you submit an offer, it's like 3, 4, 5 pages. And after it's accepted, about 15 days later, you sign what's called a purchase and sale. Purchase and sale is then like a 30-page document which outlines the whole entire sale. And it's very lengthy. It's written by another attorney, usually by the seller's attorney. So because it's such a long document, you want to make sure you're represented correctly. So you have a buyer's agent that is looking out for your best, or excuse me, a buyer's attorney that's looking out for your best interest and making sure there's nothing predatory in the purchase and sale because it is such a lengthy document. The attorney also, depending on how you do it, the attorney can also represent the bank because the lender also needs an attorney, but he or she can work with both the lender and yourself and represent both sides independently. So it will save you a little bit of money, but that's again, it's getting a little too in the weeds with that. So
I guess that's a good segue. Like, maybe you can just give us like a general rundown of how a mortgage works. I'm going to
Yeah.
tell a story because when I bought my first place, I remember calling my mom and being like, I have like a $200,000 education. I have no fucking clue how a mortgage works.
Totally.
Yeah, it is true. So like the mortgage, there's different parts to it. You pay the principal, which is paying back what you're borrowing. And then you're
Yeah.
paying interest. You're not just getting a free loan. The bank has to make money somehow, so you're paying interest to the bank. It's usually broken down every month when you pay. Um, but those are the two big factors. Depending on what you do, most people do, I do it myself. They roll in their insurance payment and their
Mm.
property taxes into the mortgage payment, their monthly mortgage payment. I just saw Kristen roll her eyes.
Well, you know what's so funny about this? Okay, so my father, when I was away traveling, he's like, "Have you taken care of your taxes?" He's like, "You got something from you. Have you paid this?" I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, "Oh my God, I have not paid this in 3 years." I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
would never know
yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah, 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 yeah. Totally have it taken care of." Meanwhile, I'm like, am I like owing like thousands of dollars in taxes that I haven't paid? Like, what's going on? And yeah, sure enough, once I actually looked into it, I forgot that that's how it was set up. And part of the payment that I make towards like my overall mortgage, they take out a portion of that, set it aside to pay automatically my taxes every quarter. Something I had no idea was happening. And I felt very dumb when I realized I didn't know I was paying my taxes. But then,
But relieved.
Yeah.
that's the bigger
Well,
emotion
I
relief.
guess I failed. I should have told you that.
No, you definitely did. And I definitely forgot.
Uh,
So, yeah.
So most of the time, especially if you're a first time home buyer, they just roll all that in for you. So you just have one
Mhm.
payment. You're not paying your insurance separately. You're not paying your taxes separately. Everything's kind of included in one. Um, so it just makes it easy. And what the mortgage company does is they take the extra money and they put it in an escrow, and then they pay it like most taxes are paid quarterly. So then they pay it every quarter. And then if there's excess, which there never is, they either send you a check or they can roll it into the next payment. If you're short on property taxes, they may send you a note and say we need a check for 2,000 to be even. So yeah, that's kind of what goes into your mortgage payment. I think this will lead to the next point, which is PMI, private mortgage insurance. So if you're going through a lender, which is a private mortgage company, there's something called private mortgage insurance, which is a monthly payment. It doesn't go towards anything. It's just like any type of, normal type of insurance, except you don't really get anything out of it. You're insuring the mortgage company, or it goes further than that, but you're basically insuring someone else. The way you get out of paying that is either go to a local bank. The local bank will not have private mortgage insurance. They usually do
Mhm.
portfolio loans, which means they're using their own money to back the loan rather than using a note. Or if you go to a lender, you just have to put at least 20% down to avoid private mortgage insurance. By putting 20% down, it shows that you're putting down a good chunk of money, and it's more of a safer loan, I guess. The banks look at it. I don't know who sets the PMI or the threshold. I don't know, goes beyond me, but it's important because it could be $300 a month, and that goes to
Mhm.
absolutely nothing. So
Yeah.
if
Right.
you can get to that threshold, that's great. If not, there's other options like private banks or local banks. If you put 10% down, they may waive that private mortgage insurance, but your interest rate may be higher. So there's trade-offs. You can always shop around to different lenders, and especially if you're first time home buyer, there's a lot of first time home buyer programs out there. Again, I don't want to get too far into that, but it's first time home buyers have a little bit more leeway than say a second time home buyer or someone that's buying a second home or an investor. So
So just to
Makes
kind of
sense.
like recap what you were saying. So basically in your monthly mortgage payment, you're going to have your principal, aka you buy a house for 500,000, you put 50,000 down. The principal is that remaining
450.
450,000. Then your interest rate, which just depending on what you're pre-approved for, right? And like also just the time that you buy, that's going to be a factor. PMI, some people pay it, some people don't. And then escrow, which is essentially like insurance and taxes. Those are kind of like the components that make up this big number.
Correct. Yep. And in Massachusetts, home insurance is mandatory, so you have to pay it.
Right. Got it. Got it. I was shocked when I first started making mortgage payments at how much your interest does affect your overall,
Yeah.
Huge.
like that's a huge factor. So I guess like what you've seen, with the market changing, just trends, anything along those lines about interest rates. I don't know, just kind of an all-encompassing, like, what do you think is kind of going on with the market right now?
Yeah. So like the big thing is, like you said, the interest rates are just a lot higher than they have been in the last 5, 6, 7 years. So they were pretty, like before COVID, they were pretty steady around 4.5, 5%. And that
Mhm.
was, a great rate. There was no real conversation about interest rates. It was just kind of so steady that no one really thought about it. And they were good. Only conversation was, the boomers would be like, well, back in my day, my interest rate was 19%. Like, yeah, but you paid like 200,000 for like a $2 million
Yeah.
home. So,
Yeah.
um,
Totally.
so like that was like the only real conversation about interest rates. But now, what COVID, they dropped down to 3%, even lower. I saw people have interest rates below 3%, ever since they've been steadily climbing. And now they're around, 6.25%, almost double of what they were at COVID lows. And it makes such a big difference on your monthly payment. I mean, it makes, Heather and I bought our house, and our monthly payment is, so and so, let's just say $2,500. If we bought the same house, right now it would be double. It'd be
Mhm.
$5,000. It'd just be,
Yeah.
so it does affect home prices because buyers have to be able to afford the house in order to purchase it. So if houses become more affordable because the interest rates are higher, then it's obviously going to affect home prices.
So as interest rates go up, the price of homes will probably go down, vice versa.
Yep. So it's
Interesting.
you know it's you got to kind of weigh it. So if you're a buyer, it's great. Your home prices are coming down, but at the same time, you're still paying the same amount essentially because your interest rates are much higher. So it's,
Sneaky.
there's always people are always like, oh, we'll just buy the house and then refinance later. But there's no guarantee the rates are going to come down anytime soon. They will eventually. They will come down probably into the fives. I just don't know when. Every time I
Right.
guess I'm wrong, so I'm just going to stop guessing.
But I mean, that's a good point because like I'm sure there are people who are listening who don't. I mean, you hear I'll refinance, like people say that, but that's a good thing you touched on. Like there's people who might still buy homes if the overall price is lower because even if it's a high interest rate now, there's a chance in like 5 years that you can renegotiate that
Finance, yeah.
interest
Correct.
price,
Yeah. So
right?
that's yeah, that's a great point. So you just because you have like a 30-year mortgage doesn't mean you're locked in for 30 years. You can refinance at any time. So
Mm,
it is a good point. You like if the home prices start coming down, it might be a good time to jump in and, try to suck it up for 2, 3 years until the rates come down and refinance when it's a lower rate, and then it'll lower your monthly. The home prices will go up and you get all that equity right then and there. So
And then just when you do get your interest rate, which comes when you get your pre-approval, right? Like that's when they tell you what your
oh,
interest rate most likely would be.
yes, most likely. But the thing is, like, until you identify a property and like get a contract signed, or even beyond that, it's called float the rate. So they'll continue shopping for the best rate. And if the rates go down like a lot in one week, they'll lock you into a
mhm.
new rate. So they constantly monitor to make sure you're getting the best rate. They're the same as like a real estate agent. They want to do the best job. And if they give you a good rate, then they're going to get referrals too. So they want to
Right.
make sure they get you a good deal. And yeah, you're not locked in until I don't know exactly when, but you not until far along in the process of being under agreement with a property.
But speaking of like what's going on in Massachusetts right now, like what's going on in Massachusetts right now?
It's you know what so the first I told you when we first started speaking, I got in the business in 2011. There wasn't one single like industry change at all from 2011 until probably 2023.
Wow.
We did our business was exactly the same. We didn't change anything. There was maybe small tweaks here and there. Since then, there's been change to commission. So the way we get paid is we get paid on commission. When we sell a house, we get paid. We don't, some agents, they do other things, but in general, agents get paid when a home sells, and that's the only way they get paid. They changed it so when you list a house, and I was representing a seller, and they list a house with me previously before the law change, we would outline my commission, we'd outline the buyer's agent commission, and that's what the seller would pay. So they pay half to me, half to the buyer's agent.
Hmm.
August of 2024, they changed the law saying that sellers are no longer obligated to pay the buyer's agent commission. Not obligated. It doesn't mean they don't have to, but they no longer legally have to, where legally
Oh,
before they had to. Basically, there was thoughts that, okay, the buyer is now going to have to pay their buyer's agent commission.
yeah.
Even though they're already buying a house, they're already paying all this money, they're now going to have to pay a commission on top of it, which could be 1, 2, 3% of the purchase price, which could be
Hmm.
very pricey. And again, if stuff becomes more unaffordable for buyers, home prices are going to go down. So that was the theory of putting that law in, or somewhat of the theory. It was to make things more flexible for home sellers. And
Yeah.
basically everything has sort of stayed the same in that sense. There hasn't been too many deals I've been a part of where a buyer has been paying a buyer agent commission, or a seller has refused to pay a buyer agent commission, because if a buyer now has to pay a commission, they're just going to take that off the purchase price. So
Right.
either way, it's not going to benefit the seller. So, but the one thing it
Oh, I
did do
see.
is it made commission, or at least buyer's agent commission, a negotiating point. So instead of a set point, say, oh, we're going to pay a buyer's agent this much, and we have it outlined in the contract. We don't have it outlined, and a buyer agent has to request that through the seller. And so then we could say, oh, we don't want to pay, that's too much. We'll pay you this much. And then it's a negotiating tactic. So it's changed that a little bit.
Interesting.
And it hasn't really affected consumers too much, besides it being a talking point. The big
Mhm.
thing that just changed was the home inspection law. That just happened a few days ago. And basically it says that a buyer and seller, there cannot be a waived home inspection on an offer any
No
Oh,
longer.
way.
wow.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a big update.
That's big
Breaking
news.
news.
Yeah. So a seller cannot accept a offer with a waived home inspection, and a buyer cannot waive a home inspection on their offer.
I mean, how much is a home inspection, would you say, on average, or is that a silly question?
No, that's a good question. The cost of it is like, I don't know, like around $800, let's just say. That's probably the average. So it's money well spent, because, you get to, you hire a professional. It's an independent person that's not related to me or any other part of the transaction. They're completely independent. And what they do is they look at the house, all aspects of the house, and give you sort of a report and a rundown. And in a competitive market like we saw during COVID, people were waiving their inspections. Sometimes they would be getting burned because they'd be waiving their inspection because they wanted the house so bad, and then there was a severe deficiency in the house, like a structural issue or whatever it may be. And so, because of that, I think that's why this law was enacted, because so many people were getting burned because of the competitive nature of the
Totally.
market. When we just listed this house the other day, I'm explaining to the seller that, that every offer is now going to have a home inspection. They were like, they couldn't believe it. They're like, really? Like, and I told them, yeah, that's just the law now.
I think that's good.
So yeah, oh, absolutely. It absolutely is good, and I think it'll be better for the market and for buyers and sellers. I think it's better for everyone, because, less liability, the better. The one thing is, inspectors sometimes they go overboard. Like, I had an inspection a couple weeks ago, and the house was perfect. It was an immaculate house. I was on the listing side, and the inspector's like looking for stuff, just like trying to find
Hmm.
like issues. He like opens the dishwasher and like pulls out the filter. He's like, "Oh, it's a dirty filter." So
What?
the buyers came back and was like, "Oh, we want the filter cleaned." It's like, okay, let me run it under a sink and put it back. Like,
Yeah.
it's like
Let me
Yeah.
just buy one on
that's
Amazon real quick.
yeah.
Yeah. What are we doing
So
here?
in my opinion, that's not the spirit of a home inspection. The spirit of a home inspection is to make sure the house is safe, to make sure it's structurally sound, to make sure there's no like any plumbing or electrical stuff like that.
Mhm.
That's really interesting because I feel like COVID times, it was definitely a strategy to waive your inspection to get to the front of the line. Like I feel
Oh,
like
Yeah.
for
that
sure.
made a really big difference. So
Oh, for
now
sure.
is it just basically like what leverage you have is like how quickly you can accept the offer, just in general, like how much cash you can put down and then your general offer?
So there's more factors that, like, if you can close quickly, sometimes that's beneficial for the seller. But
Right.
basically finding out what the seller wants, and kind of following their guidelines and say like, oh, we want to close on this date. And if you have your closing date on that date on your offer, then you have a better chance. But one thing, going back to home inspection, uh, in your offer, there's a portion of the home inspection paragraph that states basically it's called the home inspection aggregate, what you're looking to overlook in terms of issues. So like say you put in like, oh, I'm willing to overlook $10,000 worth of issues in
Mm,
order to, make the deal happen. That's something you can play around with. You can
I
be,
didn't know
the
that.
higher number. If you're saying, oh, I'm willing to look past $50,000 worth of deficiencies, your offer is going to be more attractive. Whereas if you're saying, oh, I'm only willing to look past $1,000 worth of issues, then that means you're probably going to be negotiating after the offer.
mm.
Are there any telltale signs in your opinion that maybe a house is a bad investment, or if like there is something on the inspection that comes back that maybe you would give a little pause to be like, let's think about
Yeah.
this?
Like the roof or something.
Yeah. Yeah, like so the biggest thing is like in my opinion would be like a structural issue because you
Okay.
don't really know where to start and where to end, and there's no telling how much it's going to cost. The big thing for me as well is in our area we have older houses and there's older electrical. Some houses have what's called knob and tube wiring, and in order to rewire a house, it could be, $30,000. That's something that could be an
Dang.
issue. If you
Wow.
go into, there's materials that houses were built out of, or they use, flooring, siding that's called asbestos. That could be very pricey. They used it for insulation around heating pipes. If you have to remediate any of that, that could be very pricey. Then there's smaller, like a roof. Brittany said, like the thing is, like, it's very cut and dry, a roof. If you need a new roof, you need a new roof.
Yeah.
And it's usually pretty obvious just by looking at it. You look up at the roof and it doesn't look brand new or it looks a little shaggy. You most likely have to put a new roof on. But it's cut and dry. It's like you pay the money, you get the new roof, you're done. And it's usually and you can shop around for roof prices. It's not cheap, but at the same time, you know what you're getting into. Asbestos, structural issues, wiring, you don't really know because a lot of that stuff, asbestos, it has to be done by a specialist. The wiring, you don't really know because it's all behind the walls. Structural issues, you don't really know until you start like digging if it's a foundation issue, you need to start reframing stuff. It could be really pricey because a lot of that stuff is hidden just by the nature of it. So,
Hmm.
those are some big issues. Sometimes mold, depending on how prevalent it is. But I mean, the mold is treatable, and you can prevent it as well. I try to tell buyers don't let it be a big issue unless it is a big issue, unless the inspector says, this is like if it's mold throughout the house, there's mold in the floors, the walls, the attic. Um, so those are kind of big things. Everything else can be fixed. I mean, if there's a leak, it can be fixed. If there's the kitchen's older, you can redo the kitchen. So it's really like the things that you don't know until you start opening walls. That's where it can be very pricey.
Maybe we should end like on talking about the flip side. If you are selling a house, maybe not buying a house, but
Hmm.
is there something that you would suggest to people who might be thinking about putting their home on the market? Anything that they can do to really bring value to a house or any
Yeah.
like parts of a house that you think bring the most
Yeah.
value?
Yeah, I always like, I don't know why I always talk about, I feel like I appeal more to buyers, like especially first time home buyers. So I'm glad you brought this up because I actually like, I think the last like 7 deals I've done have all been on the seller side. So thank you for bringing this up. Otherwise I would have never brought this up. In terms of selling, right now so there's in our area, the two good markets or the two good times to sell are the spring
Hmm.
because and the reason being is the spring market it's a good lead into the next school year. So
Mm.
if you're a family, you
Right.
want to get settled, buy the house,
Yeah.
say you put the offer in on May, typical closing is 45 to 60 days. So May, June, July, you close in July. That way you can get settled, do any work you need to do before the next school year in September, get the kids in school. That's why the spring market is historically the strongest. But the other good time to sell is the fall because it's anyone who missed out on the spring market that wants a second bite at the apple. Summer is usually slow because people are away on weekends. And then to answer your second question, what's the best bang for your buck? The sexy things are kitchens, baths, stuff like that. But honestly, like a good paint job, like interior paint job, like having it freshly painted is the best bang for your buck. A gallon of paint, it used to be $30, now it's like $70, but $70 for a gallon of paint. You can, buy 10 gallons of paint, have a professional painter do it, and you pay him, $2,000-$3,000 and it looks like a brand new house. That's the best investment, 100%. There's like different metrics. Like I've seen like things, it's like, oh, new garage door, like you get like plus 10,000. It's like, in my opinion, like paint's the best. Having a clean house is really nice. Like if you walk into open, like you guys remember walking into open houses and like the house smells or it's like dirty or dingy,
Yeah.
like immediate turn off.
Yeah.
So like having like a nice clean house, fresh paint job, and then of course, kitchens and baths, if you want to get into more of a, something that you want to do renovations, those are the best bang for your buck. Kitchen and baths are 100%. Surprisingly, new roof does not add a lot of value because because people expect the roof to be, they expect it to work essentially. They expect it to be a roof. So if you go and buy a house, you're like, okay, we assume this roof has no leaks, but if it's leaking, you're going to say, okay, I want the seller to fix that. It's expected to work, just like a heating system. A new heating system doesn't add value.
Yeah.
Owner or new buyer expects the heating system to work. So if that makes sense, they just don't look at it as value. They just expect it to be there and working.
You're not going to be like, oh, that's a nice roof. Like you're just like, does the roof work? Like, look at that roof.
It's really unfortunate because like I've done a lot of sales where we've had to replace the roof before the sale started. And it's $18,000 and you don't really get that money back. It's just people just want the roof to work. They just want it to prevent the water from going into the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't really care what it looks like. I have a question.
Yeah.
Those like Zillow photos, are those rigged? Are they like distorted? I feel like it always makes the houses look huge.
So yeah. When we list properties, we use professional photo and they use like wide angle like lenses and it makes it look a lot bigger. The photographer we use, he's like not so crazy with that. Like he'll still use the wide angle so you can see the whole room, but some of them are like fisheye lens and it's like it looks like the room's huge and you walk in, you're disappointed. So when we list a house, we want people to be not surprised, but we want people to be like, oh, this looks like the pictures. Whereas I've gotten that feedback tons where people like walk in like to other open houses after they saw it on Zillow. They're like, these rooms are tiny or it looks nothing like it because they touch up the photos like crazy. And that's also a real turnoff for buyers because their expectations are so high and then they walk in and they immediately lower their expectations. So
interesting.
I could see that.
Under promise, over deliver.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Motto.
But that also like speaks to just like how even like the staging business, I feel like staging has become such a whole industry in and of itself. And those photos, like, you do even unconsciously care the aesthetics
100%.
if it looks nice. And if it doesn't, you're totally turned off.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, staging is nice though. Like if you have an empty house, like if the actual furniture, then there's virtual staging, which is like, it's weird, but sometimes it's helpful for the buyer to see how like a living room would be laid out if it's an oddly shaped room. But like actual real furniture staging is there is value behind it. It's not cheap, but it's property dependent. Some houses need it, some don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Owen, you've taught us so much.
I know. I'm sorry. I probably went way over.
No. Oh my God. I have more questions, but I'm trying to reel it in.
We can do a part 2.
I mean, you can just come back.
If this is the lowest rated podcast, there probably won't be a part 2.
No, this one is going to take off.
As long as I'm higher rated than Chris's podcast, then I'll take it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you will be.
I saw him walking by back there. He looked like he was just finishing a workout.
He's working out.
Nice.
He's walked by twice. I think he's trying to get us to say hi to him.
He wants to be a part of it so bad.
He wants to be in the pod. Can you see him from where you are, Britt?
Chris? No. I think he has his headphones in.
Oh, okay. No.
Just on that grind.
Yeah, I don't want him to
Yeah,
steal
he's
my
in like
shine.
the other side of the
Get your
door.
own podcast.
Yeah, seriously. We didn't invite him.
We can invite him. Anything left we have, Britt, or anything, Owen, that you just feel like you should share that we didn't get to? Anything we missed?
How about that time someone wrote an article about me that I knew that Taylor Swift was moving into Belmont?
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
I know. Come on. I can't believe you didn't bring that up.
I totally forgot.
I
I'll tell the
forgot.
story.
Yeah.
It's a quick story, so I'm not going to keep everyone too long. So, there's this guy, and he's a townie in Belmont, with the town I live in, and he had his own like personal blog, and he actually had quite a few readers of like local people, because at the time there wasn't like a local paper. It shut down. They were in between getting a new paper, so people were actually reading it. So every year he does like an April Fool's blog, but this year the year he released this monthly blog, he released it like 15 days early, like on March 15th. So no one really, if you read it, like if you read every story or whatever, then you would know it was April Fool's, like you just could tell. But some people didn't catch on. And so all of a sudden my phone started blowing up. And so the story was, Taylor Swift bought a house in Belmont. It was off the market. No one knows about it, but I confirmed with Owen, who's a realtor in Belmont, that she bought a house, and she's moving in like a few months or whatever. So all of a sudden my phone starts blowing up, and luckily I read it before like people started calling me. Otherwise I'd be completely lost. So
Yeah.
like the first person called me, I don't even know who, I can't even remember who it was. And I like leaned into it. I was like, oh yeah. She's like, the house, I can't say, she's gonna be moving up to this really nice house. And then I started getting like more phone calls, and I'm like, oh my God, these people actually believe it. So it came to a point where I was just telling people, I'm like, no, that was fake. That was a fake blog. It was an April Fool's blog, and explaining it to them. And then high school students started calling me. Like I don't have
Oh my
a high
God.
schooler. I've
The
graduated
power
high
of the
school.
Swifties.
Oh my God. And like I could hear like there was like 10 of them on the call, and they're all my number's all over Google. So there's like I could hear they're all like in a room, like listening in to the phone call. This is like probably the 15th phone call. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Like it was an April Fool's blog. Like I could just hear the disappointment in their voices when I said that. It was like so funny. And then it really got even worse, because some like radio station picked up the blog up in Maine, and like
Oh my
they
God.
and they were talking about it, and then they linked to the article, and so then I got even more phone calls.
Oh my God. This
And
is how
so,
fake
like,
news spreads.
oh my God, I was like, I couldn't believe it. So like finally the phone call stopped after probably about a week, but I probably got like 40 plus phone calls from that.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
And
That
like
is crazy.
my number wasn't on the blog. Like people were like Googled my name, and then like Google like found my number and then started calling me. I was like, oh my
Oh my
God.
God.
Like even real estate agents were calling me. It's like, how are you guys falling for this? Like I
That's
had
so
like probably a
funny.
dozen real estate agents call me, like
Oh
local
my
real estate
God.
agents.
What
They're like,
year
oh,
was this?
Where's Taylor Swift living? I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, it was fake. It was a fake blog. Like I
I
said, I
mean,
was like, why would she move to Belmont out of all places? Like, yeah, it's a great town, but like not for someone like her.
Yeah, it's kind of
she's
random for
no
her.
reason to, she has no reason
Hey,
to
you
live in
never know.
Belmont. You never
Never know.
know. Oh my
She's gonna
gosh.
move to Canton instead.
I would love that.
Right.
If that actually ever does happen, you know who you're gonna tell first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I highly doubt it.
Well, after this podcast,
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be hitting you up.
Yeah, right. You
Oh,
guys
yeah,
need a
that's
realtor?
right.
We got one.
We got one.
That's right. That's true.
Hit him up. You can find his number online like the rest of the Swifties.
Yep. Very easy
You
to
could
find.
easily Google his number online.
Yep.
But thank you so much, Owen, for coming on. This was an awesome episode. We so appreciate it, all of your expertise. We hope everyone learned something new. And yeah, we'll have to have you back for a part 2.
Yeah, it was great. I loved being on here, and I loved listening to the intro live. That was highlight of my week so far.
Oh,
It's early in the week. It's early in the week, but it was highlight so far.
We'll take it.
love that. And make sure to like us, comment, tag us, follow us at snitchinpod on TikTok and Instagram. Check out our website, snitchinpodcast.com, and tell everyone you know about us.
We'll be back on Friday. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Owen.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.